surfaced yesterday of black women that were twerking at the slave castle. Now, this took place during the Juneteenth celebration that they had in Ghana. And so the video obviously somehow got out or whatever. I don't really know how it has started to circulate, but it is circulating. I actually saw this video yesterday on another YouTube video that I was watching, and I knew that I was going to give my perspective on it, and now it has gone viral and literally everybody is talking about it. Now, what I find interesting about this whole situation is that people know, and we all know, that if this was anywhere else, if this was in Afghanistan, if this was in Pakistan, if this was in Egypt, if this was in China, if this was in Japan, these black women would not have been twerking in those countries, particularly in countries where they know that women conduct themselves in a different way. It would not have even been something that would have entered their mind. It's only when it comes to African countries that people feel like they can be disrespectful. They feel like they don't have to honor the culture. They feel like they don't have to honor the people. And they feel like they don't have to honor the country. And that, to me, is the biggest problem of this whole situation, is that these black women didn't even have the respect of the country enough to know that this was something that should not be done. And then when you have people calling them out on their behavior, those people are looked at as, oh, you don't want to let these black women live. You don't want to empower black women. You don't want to be supportive of black women. Why do people always have something negative to say about black women? And it's just like, wrong is wrong. And in this particular situation, these black women were wrong for what they did. They did not care of, however it looked to the Ghanaian people. They did not care how it looked to the people that work at the Elmina Castle. They had no regards whatsoever to anybody or anything that was happening while they were twerking at a slave castle. A slave castle where slaves were held. And I think that's what people need to continue to remind themselves. This is a slave castle where our ancestors were held captive before they were shipped off to different parts of the world, a slave castle. And this is where you felt like was the place for you to twerk. It's funny that a lot of black people don't even want to have anything to do with the African country, don't want to have nothing to do with the African culture. But in this particular situation, now all of a sudden, it's paying homage to the African dances. So now, because it was done in the Volta region, now all of a sudden it's okay for you to do it on top of a slave castle. Did they see any other Ghanaian women from the Volta region doing that cultural dance at the Elmina Castle? No, they did not. So it's funny now all of a sudden you want to be connected to the African culture. You want to be connected to the African country. Oh, well, this is African dancing, so it shouldn't be a problem. Ghanaians shouldn't have a problem with us doing African dancing. When we all know that when black women are out there twerking, not one time do they pay homage to the women that they got the twerking from. They don't say, hey, this originated in West Africa and we've taken it and we've put it a part of black culture. They don't say that. They don't say that. They twerk. That's something they created. Not one time have they paid homage to anybody from the Volta region. Not one time has there ever been a connection from one dance to the next. Now all of a sudden, these black women are getting called out for twerking. Now all of a sudden, you want to have connections to the African people now. You want to involve them in a situation that has nothing to do with them. The African Volta region women did not tell you to go and twerk at the slave castle. So it being originated in West Africa has nothing to do with these black women deciding to go and twerk on a slave castle. Now let's take a look at the dancing that the Volta women are doing, because it definitely is different. But I do want to bring some attention the difference between what the women in the Volta region are doing versus what these black women were doing on top of a slave castle. First of all, the women have on traditional wear. They have on cultural wear. You can tell that there is some type of ceremony going on. They're not just doing this dance just to be doing this dance. They're not doing it down the street or whatever. There's something going on. There is a ceremony going on. A lot of times when you see this type of ceremonial dancing, it is for a specific reason. There's something that is going on. They're not just out there just deciding they want to dance. Now, my husband used to be from the Volta region before the Rupong area. It's separated, and now Rupong is a part of the OT region. So he is very familiar with the dance. So we're going to hear from my husband, and then I'm going to kind of wrap everything back up.
Well, I think my wife has covered it pretty well. When you see most of these cultural dances taking place, it could range from young girls all the way to grown women. But it has significance and it has a purpose. We do not just go out on the street and say, oh, I know twerking, so let's just start twerking because we have 3 or 4 people together. And we've got into a location and we feel like twerking because, you know, this is something that culturally is done in Ghana or different part of Ghana. We don't do that. They participate in those things because there's some sort of cultural activities taking place. It could be maybe welcoming dignitaries. It could be maybe funeral for elderly people. It could be different things, but it's culturally related. When you go to Elmina Castle, a place where it's very respected for people being taken away, slaves, people dying, and things like that, does not call for, you know, let's just start to twerk in remembrance of them. It does not work. Okay, we need to respect the culture. Yes, I always say all black people around the world are African. So I consider all black people in the United States, China, wherever they may be, they're Africans. But we need to start respecting ourselves.
That's right.
You know, most of the time, we think that the only way for people to recognize us is to be shaking our butts. Okay? And that's only, you know, I'm sorry to say it, but that's how people want to get attention, by shaking their butts or, you know, having their body revealed, you know, for, I don't know what they consider it to be, whether they think it's fashionable or not. It's very disrespectful. So you gotta have some respect for your body and for yourself. And dances are for specific things. When it's being taken place for that cultural activity, there's a certain level of respect why it's taking place. We don't need to be shaking our buns just for people to recognize us.
They could have done something else other than that.
Yes, they could have. They could have laid a reed. They could have done a prayer.
They could have done a prayer.
They could have, you know, I mean, if they wanted to twerk, they could have invited some chiefs or some, you know, organize it as a cultural festivity for them to do
And
that.
they could have been taught properly how to do it, because if you see how it's done in the Volta region, there is a difference between.
Yes, you have to have the proper attire way.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
not just done out of some short jeans, tight jeans.
Short
or
dresses.
Short dresses. And you just start twerking. I'm sorry. We need to start having a little bit more respect for ourselves. Whether you are in Africa, United States, Britain, Canada, or this wherever. We need to start having respect for our culture and for our bodies.
It was not the best thing to do. Point blank period. Black people always hold black culture to this high standard. And they want people to respect it. But then they don't go and they don't respect somebody else's. And that's a problem. If you want black culture to be respected, you have to respect somebody else's. And you cannot go to another country doing things that is disrespectful. And when someone calls you out and say that it's disrespectful, you should take it as is and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to respect the people. I'm going to respect the country. I'm going to respect the culture, because I know that the Ghanaian people would not be doing that. And so, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Instead of trying to make excuses. And I think a lot of times when it comes to some Black women, there's always excuses made for their behavior. And, you know, we got to stop making excuses for this type of behavior, because we definitely don't want our young people seeing these things and continuing on with this bad behavior. And then we're sitting back wondering why the Black community is not going forward. And that is because we sit back, we let these things happen, we don't say anything. And then when we say things, we are labeled as bougie. We are labeled as not for the Black people or the Black experience or the Black community, when a part of being a part of the Black community is for you to hold each other accountable when it needs to be. All right, that is all I have to say on the situation. That's my perspective. I am Mazelleغ. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.